Now, we go to the introduction. For your information, the Bornean orangutan was listed as critically endangered by the IUCN, which is International Union for Conservation Nature. So, our presentation tells us about Sepilo Orangutan Rehabilitation Center. This place is the one of the sanctuaries dedicated to rescuing and rehabilitating displaced orangutan. This place also be the place where orangutan are trained to survive before they are being released. The Sepilo Orangutan Rehabilitation Center was managed by Sabah Wildlife Department and plays important role in conservation.
Moving on to the core mission of the sanctuary. Sepilo operate under structure 5-stage rehabilitation hierarchy. It begin with quarantine for health check and move through various necessary stages until reaching final independence. The main goal here is to ensure orphan orangutan master 3 life critical skills before they are released. First, arboreal locomotion. They must learn to stay high in the tree to avoid predator. Second, foraging. The ability to find their own food in the forest. And third, nest building. Construct a new, safe place to sleep every single night. Ultimately, Sepilo act as conservation beacon. Through this management practice, the center work to preserve the genetic of Bornean orangutan while educating the public that this animal belong in the wild, not as pet.
Orangutans undergoing rehabilitation in centers such as the Sepilo Orangutan Rehabilitation Center face several welfare challenges, even though these centers play an important role in conservation. One key welfare issue in psychological stress and behavioral changes. Orangutans are highly intelligent and naturally live in complex forest environments. When placed in captivity, they may experience stress, boredom, and frustration due to limited stimulation and separation from their natural habitat. This can lead to abnormal behaviors and slower development of natural skills, especially in young orangutans that have lost their mothers. Another concern is the limited natural environment. In the wild, orangutan spends most of their time in the forest canopy, foraging for food, building nests, and moving across large areas. In rehabilitation centers, space is restricted and confined, and daily routines are more controlled, which can limit opportunities to fully express these natural behaviors and affect physical fitness. Health and disease risks are also an important welfare issue. Close proximity to humans and other orangutans increase the risk of disease transmission, particularly respiratory infections. Because orangutans are genetically similar to us, they are highly susceptible to human-related illness, making strict hygiene and biosecurity measures essential. Finally, human dependency and reduced survival skills can occur if orangutan become too reliant on caretakers for food and protection. This dependency may reduce their ability to forage independently and adapt to the wild, which can affect the success of reintroduction programs. Overall, addressing these welfare issues is crucial to ensure that captive orangutan are not only protected but also mentally, physically, and behaviorally prepared to live back in the wild.
Now, I will talk about the orangutan rehabilitation in Malaysian sanctuaries. Sepilo Orangutan Rehabilitation Center faces several welfare challenges. Orangutan have limited space compared to their natural habitat, such as forest, and captivity can cause stress. Human contact also carries a risk of disease and can lead to dependency of changes in their natural behavior. To address this, Sepilo implements environmental enrichment, climbing structure, ropes, and natural forest areas encourage physical activity for the orangutan, while foraging exercise and nest building practice help orangutans to develop essential survival skills. At the same time, human interaction is minimized. Caretakers limited contact to prevent habituation, ensuring orangutan retain their natural fear of humans and are better prepared for life in the wild.
Now, Let's look at how management practice use enrichment to prepare this animal for survival. It is important to note that at Spillock, enrichment is mandatory husbandry requirement, not just for play. We categorize this into two main types. First is congenitive enrichment. A good example is to use a bamboo extraction cube filled with a honey or fruit. This mimics natural behavior like termite fishing and teaching orangutan how to use tools. Second is physical dexterity. By using 3D climbing frame and rope network, the center encourages brachioton, which is a natural way primates swing through trees. This is vital because if juvenile doesn't develop the necessary muscle tone and coordinate now, this simply won't survive the transition to high canopy later. Essentially, this is how ex-situ management or management in sanctuary is used to prepare them for an in-situ life in the wild. Next, we have the forest school, which is where the most critical natural enrichment takes place. This is a real-world training ground with a reserve. The sanctuary uses arboreal pathway to keep the juvenile at a height of 10 to 50 meters. This is not just for exercise, it is a management strategy to instill the life-saving habit of staying off the ground to avoid predator. Another key part of the training is nest building. By providing fresh leafy branch daily, the staff encourage the detach and pile method. This allows often to practice weaving a sturdy, safe bed for the night, which is a survival skill. Finally, we have social enrichment. Through a buddy system, since the orphan doesn't have mother, they have paired with peers. This allows survival culture like knowing which food to eat to pass from more experienced orangutan to the youngest one. This collective knowledge is what ensures they can thrive once they are fully released. The final part of my section covers a soft release program. You can think of this as a safety net phase. At this stage, the orangutan are transitioning into wider reserve, but the management still provides supplementary feeding twice a day, specifically at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. This is crucial measurement tool because it ensures the animal doesn't starve while they are still learning how to identify wild fruiting trees. The way we measure the success of this husbandry practice is very specific. Success is recorded when an individual stops attending this platform feeding. When an orangutan skips this meal, it's proof they have become self-sufficient and found their own food source. This is a gold standard for successful ex-situ conservation.
Besides, the rehabilitation and release program at Sepilok follows a gradual process. Orangutans move from nursery care to the forest training, where they learn to climb, forage, and build nests independently. A soft release method is used, allowing gradual exposure to the forest while being monitored to ensure they can survive to their own. And lastly, effective management as husbandry are also critical. Regular health checks and disease prevention, improved enclosure design, and carefully planned arrangement activities all help support welfare. Tourism is controlled and orangutan are monitored long term, which increase the success of rehabilitation and ensure they have the best chance of surviving back in the wild.
For recommendation, the first one is the Sepilok Orangutan Rehabilitation Center need to expand their semi-wild forest training areas. For instance, increase larger access for orangutans, so the orangutan can practice their survival skills efficiently. In addition, increase funding for monitoring. This is due to support long-term tracking of rehabilitated orangutans. This method also ensures survivors adaptation and provide valuable data while monitoring orangutan. Lastly, the Sepilok Orangutan Rehabilitation Center also can promote public education about the importance of orangutan. For example, launch awareness campaign in school, villages, and online platforms. For conclusion, Sepilok shows that captivity can be a bridge for freedom. While rescued orangutans face welfare challenges like stress, diseases, and dependency, enrichment programs and forest training help prepare them for release. To strengthen conservation, we must expand training areas, enforce law against wildlife trade, fund post-release monitoring, and educate the public. Protecting orangutans means protecting the forest that they call home.